Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Amazing Podcast. I'm really excited to have you with us. So as you know, we cover all things Kubernetes, cloud native, containers, DevOps. So if you like these kind of conversations, you definitely want to head over to our website, which is amazic.com. And we have a whole lot of more stuff like this on the website. There's articles, job listings, event coverage, and a whole lot of other stuff. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at amazic.com. And I have with me today an organization that is actually, for the first time, we're going to be talking to an organization that's deep into providing Kubernetes services and solutions. Previously, we've always had organizations that are building products for the space, but today's company is really unique because they've got open source products that they've built, and they have their own software platform, but they're very services driven as well, and they have a really good mix that way and I think they're going to really bring some real world insight into our conversation today. And the organization is Palark, Palark. So and I have with me today Maksim Nabokikh. He is the platform architect of Palark, and very excited to have him today. Max, it's great to have you with us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me there today.
All right. Yeah, Max, so if you could get us started with telling us a bit about your story, the story of Max's career so far, the background, the kind of things you've done, some of the companies you worked with, anything at all to tell us your story. We'd love to hear
Yeah,
that.
okay, of course. So speaking about myself, I have degree in network engineering, and so after graduation, I worked in the NOC center of a local company in my local city where I'm from. Yeah, it was like a great first experience, but I was not satisfied with this because I wanted to develop software more than just like work with some switches and routers or something like this. So I decided to change job and started working as a Python developer. So I worked there for, I believe, 1.5 years, and it was a startup company. And after that, I decided that I'm ready for something bigger, and changed my job to one in Palark. I started my career as R&D engineer, so my focus was primary in researching new technologies in cloud native landscape, all technologies around Kubernetes, and I've been working on Palark for more than 5 years already.
Oh, it's a long time.
Yeah. So in Palark, I started as an R&D engineer, and we were building. So firstly, we started just researching how we can help as an R&D team to our service teams. How can we help them adopting new technologies in their projects, like while building platforms for other clients. And we figured out that the best way to share experience between teams is to start building our own platform. So we started it, and from scratch, from the idea, we managed to build our own product, our own platform, and now I am in charge of the development of this whole big thing.
Okay, great. Wonderful to hear that. You're a platform architect, and which means you work with different organizations, and you get to actually see the real world picture of what organizations are doing, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, where they need help. They come to you to fix problems and challenges that they have on a day-to-day basis with managing their infrastructure, software. And so you get to really see what's happening out there. And from your experience, what can you tell us about what you're seeing recently? Some of the key trends that you're noticing, some of the the repeated challenges that you're noticing from the organizations that you speak to. What do you see out there?
So biggest challenges. So I think all the challenges we we already implemented in our platform. So for me, it's so it should be easy to explain. There are some of them. First, of course, what we call the installation process, how to install the cluster. For example, imagine you have AWS account, and so what? What do you need to do next? Um, you need to, for example, set up a virtual machine and deploy Kubernetes on top of this, or you need to order a Kubernetes cluster directly from AWS, their managed EKS service, like EKS managed Kubernetes. Yeah, so but you need to decide what you want and which technologies do you need to use to start. So this is the first big challenge, and we help with this with deploying this first infrastructure. The next part is to how to authenticate to your Kubernetes cluster and how to provide security, because security is always the least thing you want to implement at your start, and engineers always forget about this. But if you have something secured by default for you, this is better, because you just don't need to think about this anymore. You just have it out of the box. Other biggest challenges are monitoring, because it's easy to install Prometheus in your cluster, because there are great tools like Prometheus Operator, Grafana. Yeah, you have all these tools. But the biggest challenge there is not to install the software, but to tune it, to cover all your services, to alert about all required problems. And yeah, this is also what platforms that we are building now as a company can help to do, because we are always thinking about different problems of different clients. So if you buy our platform, not buy, but maybe you can just use it because it's open source. If you start using this, you not only mm, you will get something that we also added from experience of other companies. So it's not just your experience, but consolidated experience of the many big and small businesses.
Okay. Yeah, I want to come to your platform in a bit. But even before we get there, you mentioned about the importance of authentication. And I want to also dig in a bit more on that aspect, because I know that you are also part of the Kubernetes SIG, the special interest group for authentication. And so you're quite involved with what's happening at a very strategic level with the CNCF. So I wanted to ask, with your participation there as part of
Mhm.
the Kubernetes SIG, what are you seeing there? What are some of the key developments you're seeing in terms of authentication, authorization, security?
Um, uh, I can say that as an R&D engineer, one of my fields, as an engineer, of my interests was authentication. Back in the days, that's why I started contributing to some open source connected to authentication. I'm now the maintainer of the great cloud native computing foundation project called DEX, originally developed by CoreOS, abandoned, then picked up by community. So now we are building this software. This is like IDP. This is identity provider with pluggable connectors. And if you're interested, you can also participate in our community. We are searching for contributors, for maintainers for our product, so it will be great. And when I was like I remember that it was just a lonely evening. I wanted to do something good for community, and I started searching Kubernetes Slack, and I noticed that in SIG authentication Slack channel there is a call for help because team leaders they previously had some ideas for improvement, but they didn't have capacity to implement. So they called for help, and I just wrote one of team leaders that I want to participate. So if you can guide me a little bit, I can probably help building one of these features. Yeah, and I stuck with building feature that so Kubernetes enhancement proposal was already um, accepted for this feature. The feature is called structured authentication config. It's a great thing. The most notable contribution to authentication to authentication system in Kubernetes for many years because there were no changes for some time. Yeah, because the code was old, like written in 2015 or something like this. So it was so everyone was afraid to touch it. Yeah, and we decided to implement all the feature community asked for the past 7 years. And yeah, so this is what will be included in the upcoming feature, structured authentication config.
I like how you shared about how you got involved with this and how it was, you just noticed a call for help, you pinged someone and you got involved. And it's been, what, 7 years now you've been working on this?
No. I've been working this for just a year
Okay.
because yeah, 7 years of questions, a year to implement everything. This
Right on.
is like a
Okay,
great recipe for a software.
okay, okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah, so, you know, so yeah, we spoke a bit about, the challenges, and you mentioned that installation is a big challenge.
Yeah.
So getting started is a challenge. Could you dive a bit more? You spoke a bit about AWS and, the things you need to do to set up your clusters in AWS. Could you tell us a bit more of those kind of challenges with getting started with Kubernetes? Maybe even, what you're seeing out there in terms of multi-cloud or hybrid cloud installations. What are some of the challenges there? Just a bit more on that first point where you said installation for getting started
Mhm.
is.
I think the easiest way to install Kubernetes nowadays is just pick some cloud service.
Yeah.
EKS, AKS, Google Kubernetes Engine, something like this. So this is the easiest way because it's a no-brainer. You just need to click a button and you will have the Kubernetes cluster.
Mhm.
Um, and the companies of Big Three, they also offer you some add-ons you can install just by clicking in the interface. So this is great. But the challenges come when you want to build the thing called hybrid infrastructure. So you want to, for example, to have similarly looking clusters in different clouds, like the same cluster in AKS, or in Amazon or in Azure, the same looking cluster, same interface. So this is where we have challenge. And there are some great platforms that can help you with this. For example, I don't know, Rancher, they can be installed on top of different clouds. Yeah, but where is the challenge? I will try to explain. Firstly, you just have some kind of you have credentials to your cloud account. How can you install Kubernetes? There are tools like kubeadm, the popular one, but you need to install Kubernetes, you need a virtual machine. So you need somehow to create a virtual machine, first one, to start working with this. Yeah, then Or maybe if you don't like to use kubeadm, there are other projects like, for example, kubespray, this Ansible role or something like this to install Kubernetes on top of virtual machine. So we can use this one to, I don't know, you can also use a cluster API, popular project nowadays. They can do it. You can do this with a utility called cluster control, they call it. So this is these are great tools, but the most challenging part is to create this first server where you will install the first Kubernetes, because all these tools, they need a virtual machine or a bare metal server or just some machine, local host, I don't know. And what we do, so in our platform, for example, we under the hood, we in detail described all the infrastructure you need for your Kubernetes cluster in Terraform. But you don't need to directly write Terraform files. You just need to write configuration file, a YAML with a structured configuration file, declarative one. And with this, you will have all the required infrastructure you need for the first node to deploy Kubernetes. And so this is the most challenging part that we solve. So you just need a YAML file and command line utility, and then you will be able to set up a cluster in many different clouds.
Okay. Yeah, that was quite detailed. I want to also dig into this third part of what you mentioned, which is monitoring. And you said that it's easy to install the tools. That's not the hard part, but you said the hard part is really fine-tuning them. So could you tell us a bit about what this tuning involves? How do you do it? What's the end result after the tuning?
I can say that for software, for example, for infrastructure software like Cert Manager, there are great community rules, alerting rules, and Grafana dashboards that you can install, and they will work, and everything's good. But the challenges come when you need to monitor, when you need to receive observability signals for custom user application. So not predefined one, yeah, such as I've told you, Cert Manager, yeah, but something unique that client built. And what we in our platform, we try to build a set of rules that can be good for every application of a user. For example, how many replicas are running? So maybe there are some replicas that are stuck in crash loop backoff state or something like this, so it can be a problem. The other problem is, for example, 500 errors on your ingress resources, also great signal. If there is not enough space on your persistent volume, we also have alerts, and all these alerts, they are available out of the box. You just need to annotate a namespace, like showing that this namespace is under monitoring and I want to receive alert. And on each resource, you can just set thresholds. For example, I want to alert if 75% of volume is filled. Yeah, so if they're filled. Or maybe for some other database, you want to tune it and make it like 90%. Yeah, it's up to user. But by default, all applications in cluster are under monitoring.
Okay. Great. And, you kind of, got us into talking about your platform that you offer.
Oh.
And, that was going to be my next question, actually, about just, what is Palark? And I know that, I opened this podcast episode saying it's a mix of both a platform and a service and services. So if you could tell us about what is Palark, what does Palark do? Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I'm really curious to know that.
so I can say that Palark, our company, is a service-based company, and we are building internal platforms for our clients using available open source software on market. So we are using mostly open source tools from cloud native landscape, and some of tools we've built ourselves,
You
and
mentioned some of those tools that you most frequently use, the open
uh,
source ones that are available.
Uh, to build CI/CD processes, we use our own. For example, so for our CI/CD processes, we use our own software. The name is Werf. This is a Dutch word, like it means shipyard, because CI/CD about building, so shipyard. We have been developing this software for more than 7 years, and like last year we decided to donate it to SynCF, so we don't have rights to this for this software anymore. Yeah, it's we donated it to public, but we're still contributing. So this is one of great software we use, and in combination with this, we also use tools like, as I mentioned before, Cert Manager, Prometheus Operator. We use Prometheus itself, of course, Grafana. To store logs, we use Loki. To ship logs, we use also great project open source by Datadog called Vector. Um, to cover security problems in our cluster, we use for policies, we use Open Policy Agent, like Gatekeeper with Open Policy Agent. For runtime audit, to catch problems in runtime, some misconfigurations or threats, we use another great project, Falca, developed by SysDig. And to scan images in runtime in our clusters, we use Trivi, developed by Aqua Security. And there are also more interesting little things we use. For example, Istio, Ingress Engines, some other tools. There are many more, and I can just share a link after the
Sure, sure.
interview.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's quite a list. Yeah,
yeah.
good to know. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you, but you were telling us about Pala.
Yes. So Palark. So we use all these um, pieces of software I've mentioned, and also we use our experience. From one side, there is software. From our other side, there is experience of our company. So because we've been working as a service company for more than 10 years already, and we have teams with team leaders that know um, how to plan the work, what they need to do. They have special checklists. They have checklists for things they need to implement to build a platform. Uh, they have checklists how they can, for example, check that your software of you as a client is truly highly available. How to migrate, for example, from cluster to cluster. So they have different tactics, different techniques, and different pre-flight checks before going to production with the platform we built for our client. So this is what Palark does as a company.
Right.
Um, I can say more about our how we split engineers into teams, for example. So it's also it's not unique, but I believe that it's worth mentioning because mostly our team teams consist of 5 engineers, one team leader, and team leader is also an architect and a tech leader, so it's like the most experienced person in the team, and also a project manager to make the work efficient, to track tasks, to like to maintain that job will be done in time. So this is our team.
I think you have a slide to show us, right, to kind of just visualize what you just explained about what is Palark.
Oh, yes. I have a diagram here. As you can see, so on the left side, you can see our own software on the left side of the diagram. So this is TechHouse, our platform. OtherX, this is our service for monitoring. It's closed source now, but you still can request a demo or like a trial period for this. Verve, as I mentioned before, and the next great thing that is essential for our company is our incident management system. It's also closed source, but yeah. So it's just there are similar tools like Grafana on Call or PagerDuty. So this is our system is like these I mentioned before, but this contains our unique practices, our workflows. This is like this platform is built for us, how we are working. So this is kind of unique. Yeah, this is what is on the left side, and on the right side is our expertise. So what can we bring? What can we bring to our clients? So we can help with consulting how to build architecture and software. So imagine that your company wants a digital transformation, but don't know how to do this with their current infrastructure. So we can consult, we can help with this. We can bring GitOps practices because in many companies there is a problem that engineers don't know when and who changes this or that file of the code, who broke the production, and that's what we can bring to the project, like the history of all actions and declarative configurations of all software. Yeah, we also have, as I mentioned, DevSecOps practices, so we know how to tune all security software, not just install it, but also tune it to work and really protect the Kubernetes. Yeah, and it's also a common problem that company knows how to do the digital transformation. They just don't have hands to do this, to support the new infrastructure 24/7. We can also help with this. So we have L1 support, and also if it cannot help you with your problem, so we have L2, L3, and I'm also on the list. So if the question is really tough, I will wake up in the middle of the night and help to resolve this question, of course. Yeah, and yeah, as I've mentioned, we also have not only engineers but also project managers who help with planning. Yeah, this is and not only with planning but also with transparency. Which tasks we are under development, which tasks are in backlog. So this is what a project manager can show to a client. Yeah, and the combination of these two things, our software and our expertise, we call this hybrid approach, and this hybrid approach can help us building efficient, effective, bulletproof platforms for our clients. That's it.
Yeah, interesting. I like that the left side says optional and the right side says compulsory. So the tools
Yeah,
can
of
change,
course.
but
Why optional is just because if client want something specific, for example, they don't want to store their logs in Loki because they are proficient with Elasticsearch. Why do we need to force them to use Loki? So it's not our goal. Our goal is to build processes, not software.
mm, mm. Yeah, that sounds like a smart approach as well. So for those who are watching or listening to this, right, and you're thinking, okay, so there's so much that we are trying to work through all of these challenges, and we're making some progress. But should we really get someone from outside to help us with this? Do we need outside help, or can we just manage this on our own?
Uh,
Someone has got that question. What would you say to them to help them assess whether they need help from outside or
uh,
whether they got this?
uh, it really depends. What we firstly so. Firstly, we offer to our clients that we can make audit of their current infrastructure for free, just to to find all weak pieces and maybe great pieces of the infrastructure, so that we can be sure that they understand the landscape of work. We understand what we need to do because if a client if client has a request, it doesn't mean that this is what actually needs to be done. Yeah, so that's why we are firstly we auditing the system, and then we can say you have capacity to do this on your own. You have engineers, you have DevOps, DevSecOps in your company. We can just consult you how to do this. So we can work with your managers or with your team leaders and like figure out the best way how to build the process. So if we see that they have only, well, a client has only 2 engineers and they are not engineers at all, they are developers and they do infrastructure as a side activity. So we, of course, will offer our help because we understand that it cannot exist the infrastructure we want to offer without engineers.
I like that. I like that you meet the client where they are, whether they're just beginning and they don't have as much expertise, or whether they're already somewhere along the path and they just need a little direction, a little push to get all the way. I like that you meet clients where they're at. I think that's really cool.
The good, also the good part of it, it's like the audit is completely free and
Yeah.
client free to say that I don't want to work with you anymore because you found so many weak spots in my infrastructure. We can say, okay, that's your decision. We appreciate it.
Mhm. Yeah. And so when it comes to, so like I saw the right side said compulsory, right? Which means you have a set approach. And obviously, the different approaches to doing things. So what about when there are differences between your approach and the client's approach or what they want? Or another way to put it is uh, amongst the things that you listed on the right side, like GitOps, DevSecOps, and all of the others, which parts of those that approach are some things that you maybe have it as optional, and which ones do you not compromise on on the right side? That's your services and your approach to this whole digital transformation and cloud native.
I cannot say, so I cannot say for sure because it's pretty unique,
Okay.
and it depends not only on the desire of the company, but also on the field of the company. Where, for example, if they are connected to government, some of things are mandatory.
Mm.
And if they are just an internet shop, we can sleep from implementing something just because they don't have capacity um, to integrate with new approaches. We also understand this. So yeah, this is pretty unique. What I think is mandatory, really mandatory, is incident management. So and observability. So you need to know what is happening with your infrastructure, and you need to react somehow to this. If you if you mute your alerts, this is also great reaction. But you know that there are some alerts that that you received once. Yeah, you need to. It should be client's decision to mute, whether to mute or not to mute these alerts. Yeah, so I would say that observability is the crucial part, and the others they may be optional.
Right. Okay. And another aspect I'd like to touch on is just cost optimization for Kubernetes, and especially now at a time when a lot of companies are trying to sort of optimize for cost, do more with the same budget or reduce the spend without compromising performance. With the economy kind of being a bit
Mm-hmm.
unsure, being unsure what's going to happen with the economy. But, that being the case, what can you share with us about how you approach this FinOps and cost saving, and what is your approach, and what are some of the results that you've seen for your clients?
When I started living in Europe, I also understood that being cost efficient, it's not only about costs, it's also about sustainability, and about our environment. So this is like the second great, not a side effect, but the real effect of saving costs. So if you use less CPU for your project, you are saving trees all around you. So you also need to remember this while optimizing your costs. What can I say? The first thing about saving costs is just optimizing how you um, how should I say it? How you put your pods on your nodes in Kubernetes. Yeah, and there are many different strategies, and many of them connected to auto-scaling features of clouds and cloud providers. So if you mm, and you can define different strategies. For example, if you're on cloud, you want to use as much less number of nodes as possible. Yeah, so you want to put as many pods as you can on a single node to fill it to the cap. Yeah, and if it's bare metal servers that are standing in your office, for example, you want to spread your pods equally between all these servers to prevent overloading, to prevent heating, to save how should I say it, to prevent it from heating, just to save energy. Different strategies. And another great project that can help, not so there are actually 3 projects, open source projects that can help you with this. First one is horizontal pod autoscaling. Even 4 projects. The first is horizontal autoscaling. Yeah, you can horizontally scale your pods under the load, so you can control number of replicas. The second one is vertical pod autoscaler, so you can scale requests and limits for a single application in your cluster. So if you see that your application consuming more or less memory, you can adjust requests, and you can stuff your node with so if load is low. The next one is cluster autoscaler that can add new nodes to your cluster in clouds, whether you need them or not. Yeah, so if you don't need your node anymore because load is gone, you can just delete it from your cluster. You don't care about it anymore. And the fourth one, also widely spread, is the scheduler. Schedule is a great tool because if there is a mistake of a scheduler, for example, there is only one pod on a cloud node that is holding the node from being deleted, the scheduler can help you with this. Just evict the pod from your node, and then cluster to schedule will delete this. So this for projects is what we use in our platform for to help our clients saving costs.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Auto scaling seems like the way to go if you want to save costs. And I want to talk about collaboration between the client team and between Palark's team. Working probably remotely in most cases. How does collaboration work? What are some of the uh, routines you have in place? How does communication work so that it's not like there's no miscommunication, things don't fall through the cracks, but how do you make sure that work happens smoothly?
Uh, what we really need for this, for the process, is a maintainer, project manager. And project manager has tools for this. We call this planner, just simply our own tool, also planner. And we have weekly meetings with managers from the side of the client, and we are showing them that we have these 5 engineers, and each engineer works on the task. So we are monitoring this because this system planner is connected to our internal time tracking system. So we can show the client that our engineers spent 3 hours to this task, and it was as we planned with you previously. And we also so we have like a story points, but so not story points. We call them VIP, work in progress. So WIP, and work in progress is just like a system to show that how many tasks each engineer can handle, because there are proficient engineers, like senior level engineers, and also juniors in teams, so they can have different work in progress limit. And we transparently show the board to our client to see and to adjust priorities. So that's what we do. We do this every week, weekly.
Yeah. Sounds like you really have a good system in place for collaboration and communication. Last question I have for you on our main conversation is, as you think about the future, the road ahead for Kubernetes, the space, or authentication that you work with a lot, or even with just the services sector, cloud native. Where do you see it going, and what excites you most about what's coming in the next few months or next 1 year or 2 years?
I like to say that popular idea among Kubernetes communities that Kubernetes may become a new Linux in the future, because
What?
new Linux.
The new Linux.
So
Okay.
yeah, because I believe that we will stop thinking about operational system level, and we will start thinking about this cluster level, about containers. And as Linux, Kubernetes also will have many distributions. For example, there is a Linux core and many distributions like Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu, SUSE, different distributions, and the same will be for Kubernetes. Like there will be a great core. I like to say that Kubernetes is just sockets. You need to plug in your own software. Yeah, and Kubernetes is just great because there are great interfaces all around that you can connect with. And we will have many great distributions: OpenShift, Rancher, like house, I believe. So this is what I think will await us.
Very cool. Yeah, I think
I
follows
hope
in
so.
Linux's footsteps. That's definitely a good thing for the world. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of our conversation about Palark and your services and your platform. But before we let you go, Max, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions to just get to know you a bit more.
Mhm.
So, question that I ask every one of the guests, and I get such varied responses that it never gets boring. What would be your alternate career path if not for your job in tech?
When I was, uh, I don't think I need to say it to the big audience, but I worked as a stand-up comedian and a wedding presenter. I used to write jokes, so maybe I would work as a stand-up comedian or something like this.
Which was your the most memorable stand-up comedy that you've done? Where was it at, or how many people were there?
Uh, the, um, I don't like to share much about this, but there was a fight. That's it.
All right. Curious to know more, maybe offline. Uh, Complete the sentence. Open source is
Opportunity.
opportunity, is what you
Mhm.
said. Okay.
Because do I need to
Tell us a bit more.
elaborate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I always thought that you need to stick to a company to develop software. But back when I was just a junior developer, I've been to a conference. It was a Python conference, and there was a core Python developer, and he encouraged me to just start contributing to software. And I decided to, yeah, well, maybe I can do this. And I I wrote the code in Golang. I didn't have experience to do so, but I just tried to adjust some variables and I don't know, just changed like a couple of lines of code, and the pull request was accepted, and I was so excited, and I started to researching more, making bigger pull requests, and that how I was able to raise my proficiency to a very different level. So I think that open source is opportunity to improve your skills, even if you are not a good developer right now, but you can still participate and still improve.
That is very empowering and very positive. That's a really great story you shared there. Your next question, which open source project have you spent the most time with?
Um, I don't. Maybe Dex. Dex is so. Besides projects that I've been paying to work with, yeah, Dex is the one I spent a lot of time because, we have just two active maintainers now, and we are managers. So I'm not a developer as of today. I'm more a manager. So I have my own team to work with, and all my free time that I have, I spent to help somehow the community of Dex to accept pull requests, to create a little patch, to release new version. So every time, just to make it alive, to keep it alive. Because there are many companies that use Dex. I know, and I receive a lot of feedback, and I feel like we need to help people. We don't need to abandon this project.
Wow, that's really great to hear how much, how dedicated you are to this project. The next question, if you could hang out for a day with anyone in the world, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, from TechSphere or just
No, not just like anybody.
mm, I don't know, because I always think about having day off with my family, even if even if I have many opportunities to spend time with my family. I still believe that it is not enough, neither for me nor for them. It's just never been. It will never be enough. So I would like to answer a day with my family.
I love how simple and yet how profound that answer was. Um, the last question for you is, uh, well, what's the most exciting thing for you that's happening today in cloud native? What excites you the most?
What excites me the most? I think community events where you can meet with others and see that all these people you've seen on the internet, they are alive. They have flesh. You can really touch them, talk with them, give them high five. So that's what excites me the most, when I can see uh, these people from different companies share this experience with them, or just not even experience, but just any thoughts, and the community, how we build it, how it grows. That's what drives me every day.
Yeah, events are back, and they're quite exciting. We cover a bunch of them on amazic.com. So if you want to follow some of the events in the space, definitely head over there. With that, we come to the end of our conversation today with Max. Thanks so much, Max, for joining us. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And I just love your passion for open source. And I see that, you really are out there on the front lines working with organizations to actually implement stuff in the real world, and really shows from all that you shared today. So thanks for all that you shared. Thanks for, yeah, it was a lot of fun chatting with you. Hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, it was a great talk. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me there today.
Right. And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers for joining us today. And we hope you will continue listening to this podcast. See you on the next one. Bye bye.